The detective is one of the most, if not the most complex of all the major genre heroes. A lot of elements go into this character. Let me mention a few important ones. First of all, he is a loner. He lives and works outside the organization. Second, like the cowboy, he is in between the lawman and the outlaw. He's neither one nor the other. He's this strange in-between character. Now, third, the cost of being a loner in a corporate organized world is that the detective is always morally tainted. He always does the dirty jobs, and he's always criticized for it. But he is also the most morally concerned character in the story. He may not be the most lawful, but he is the most morally concerned. And the detective lives by his wits. Even though he can typically handle a gun when he needs to, he succeeds by outsmarting the other guy. Now, better detective stories have the detective asking himself that key question. He says, am I, the investigator, guilty or innocent for what has gone wrong? There is a key plot structure that you find in good detective stories, which is that we go from a small corruption to a large corruption. Small corruption to large corruption. This, of course, is how Chinatown works. It doesn't start off as a murder mystery. He is originally hired for an adultery case. But as he investigates that, he discovers a murder, and then he discovers incest, and then he discovers that the entire city of Los Angeles is being built on a corrupt land deal. Bigger, 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 bigger. And this is one of the keys to writing the detective story, which is you start with the large corruption and back up to the small corruption. Because there's going to be a thread. There's a thread. That when the detective starts pulling on that thread, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until we go up the funnel and we see all of the corruption and the crime that is all interconnected. And when you take the detective story to its logical extreme, you end up with a very negative world. Because the detective's job is to trust no one. Everyone is possibly guilty. Which means that no one else in the story trusts anyone either. The result being that we end up with a hellish world where everyone is isolated and afraid of everyone else. Total opposite of a community. Now, in this dark world, there is an apparent positive, which is that the detective almost always has a final choice, final moral decision between love and honor. So why do I say that's an apparent positive? It's because it is not a real choice. 99.9% of detective stories, what does the detective choose? Honor. Which means it's not a real choice. One thing that you can do that will set you apart from every other detective writer in the world, write a detective story where the detective chooses love at the end. People will go, huh? What? It's not possible. You can't do that. And everyone will be talking about you. That's all you have to do. The other reason that the choice between love and honor is not a convincing one is that the love side has never been established. Most detective writers are so concerned to get the plot correct that they don't give any time for the love to develop. And one thing I always tell writers, you can't montage love. You can't do it. Right? This is where we see the couple get together, and then we cut to then they go to the restaurant, and then they're playing at the beach, and then they're at the movies, and so on. And 30 seconds later, they're crazy madly in love with each other. Well, the audience may intellectually know that they're in love, but they don't feel it. And if they don't feel it, it doesn't happen. If you're going to make that final choice a tough choice that has emotional impact for your audience, you have got to give time and story to the love. Make it intense. Make the detective really fall. Now, there are two true positives that you find in every detective story. First of all is the power of the human mind. Detective stories celebrate the mind. It's the most mental of all the genres. And typically the detective is a brilliant person. And we love to see how their mind works. The second positive is the purity of professionalism that we find in the detective story. It celebrates the value of being a professional, meaning they get the job done. You can always count on them.
Unless they give it to love.
Yeah.